Yeah, no, great question. And so the answer to all of that, I think, there's multiple parts of that, but I think it's yes to all, meaning law students or lawyers in the first year of experience, maybe even those who are still searching for their first job, they should absolutely be thinking about content creation, because it's the way to be visible to the audience that you're trying to attract in a way that's not, seen as overtly pushy or having a sales pitch associated with it. It's a way to be visible in a way that builds trust, not sort of pushes people away from you. So here's the so a couple things. Like, let's talk about LinkedIn specifically, because I think that's the domain where this is most relevant. If I was someone in law school right now, I'd be doing two things. I would be commenting on and reacting to the posts that are being shared by lawyers and law firm leaders who you want to be in you want to be in their network. Anyone who's creating content on LinkedIn notices the people who are reacting to that content. So there's a lot of people on the LinkedIn platform who are, I think they're oftentimes called lurkers, meaning people that are on there, they're viewing what's happening, they're reading, but they're not actually taking any action on the platform. So if you want to connect with someone who is running a law firm that you want, or part of the hiring committee for a law firm that you potentially want a job at, and the first step forward to be able to get that job is to make some connection with that person, there's no better way to do it than putting thoughtful comments into the comment threads in response to their posts. Because again, if you're, once you get to the point where you're creating your own content, you'll realize that it takes effort, and you want people to take notice of what you're doing, right? It feels good when someone comments on your post, and not just the, it's fine to write something like, that was a great post, or, really interesting, but take the time to actually write a thoughtful question in response to that post, or add some additional insight on top of it, and that person will take notice. And this is related to a common mistake that you see on LinkedIn, I think, that many people make, which is they'll see someone they want to connect with, and they'll simply click connect with that person, right? That person doesn't know who you are. They don't know what your motivation is. Oftentimes that connection request will be denied or ignored. But if you spend 2 weeks, you show up 3 to 4 times in the comments to their posts, there's a high likelihood that they'll accept your connection request. And there's also a high likelihood that they'll send you a connection request. Because again, anyone who's creating content on LinkedIn appreciates people, reacting and providing thoughtful comments to that. So that's number one. You want to build your network. You want to connect with people who are sort of above you in the hierarchy right now, meaning they're decision makers who could have a positive impact in your career. Comment on their posts, react to their posts, be visible to them, be thoughtful in what you're doing. Then, once you're doing that, and you've started kind of building your network on LinkedIn, I absolutely think that law students, young lawyers should be creating their own content. And what type of content is that? Well, there's a few different ways to think about it. One way that I recommend is to say, especially as a way to ease into this, is to not you're not in a position, because you're not yet an expert in legal issues, right? You're just not there yet. But you know what you are an expert in? Your lived experience, like your experience as a person who's going through a difficult challenge like law school, for example. So I always think that, and I know lawyers who do this, who are now like first-year lawyers and have huge followings on LinkedIn, because they essentially were using LinkedIn as a blog to journal about their law school experience. And as a result of doing that, people will take notice who are, again, up the hierarchy from you, because you're sort of joining the conversation within the legal industry. But you'll also be building your network among your colleagues or contemporaries in law school, and those who are following behind you, maybe someone who's in undergraduate college right now and looking to go to law school. They're going to be interested in what you have to say. So again, if what you're trying to do is play the long game here with your thought leadership content, starting where you are, and building upon that, not waiting until you feel like, you've removed all the imposter syndrome and you feel like you're a real expert and now you're going to burst on the scene and start creating content. No, write about what you know, write about your lived experience, which at this point in time might be, how am I getting through law school? I might be a second year law student. What would a first year law student gain from my experience? That's always, to me, a great starting point for thinking about creating content. Because what you're going to be doing, you're going to be creating content in the comments to other people's posts. Yeah. That's thought leadership. That's content creation. And then you start creating content of your own in your posts through, your life experience. And that might be law school right now, or it might be your approach to trying to, a great way, I think, for a lawyer who right now is a graduate from law school and is looking for their first job, is to be writing about that experience of trying to find your first job, right? What are you doing? What successes or failures have you had? How are you going about it? Asking questions of other people. You want to get noticed by hiring committee people, like people who are in charge of hiring at a law firm. Ask thoughtful questions about, what is the best way to go about this process? Or here's what I've experienced. What do you think about this approach? And you're gonna start creating conversation around that very topic that you're trying to be, noticed for, meaning your job search. And the right people will take notice of that. So again, it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be about subject matter expertise on a legal issue. It can be just about your experience and where you're at in your career at any given moment in time.